Welcome back to Frenemies, the podcast where sales and marketing talk. My name is Julia Hartwig. I'm the head of marketing at the Sales Enablement Platform Presenter. And I have the honor to talk to
Ahmet I'm the founder of Sales Fellowship and work with a couple of companies on that. And I represent sales, and I'm delighted to be with marketing queen. I don't know. It's like Julia today.
I'll take that.
You're so energetic today.
Today, we're actually talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is brand. But before we get into that, for the first time, I would like to make a bit of promo because on May 25th, I'm speaking at the B2B Growth Day. And yeah, you can sign up. I'm gonna leave the landing page in the description below. Unfortunately, I will be speaking by myself, and I won't take Ahmed with me for that. But I'm speaking, of course, on 4 initiatives to achieve sales and marketing alignment to drive revenue growth. So a good topic. If you are sad that Ahmed can't join me, then there are other speakers as well. We have Micah Zimmerman speaking on rethinking SaaS marketing with moving beyond traditional campaigns. And then we have the brilliant Julian Els speaking on driving B2B SaaS growth with revenue marketing. So I think there's going to be lots of good content. Check it out, sign up, and join in. And now we can start talking about brand.
Yeah,
Actually,
but it seems quite interesting. So I would love to join. But it's like there's some guy missing, of course. So I can hit that. Like there's some like Ahmet or something. It's
really,
like you can find him on
I don't
LinkedIn.
know.
So
It
it's like
didn't
he's
pop up. I'm not sure.
okay.
Yeah, so why I love brand so much is actually it's one of the areas that got me into marketing. And a lot of people think that brand is something very subjective and fluffy, but actually brands and how they work and the impact they have on us and our decision making is a very scientific thing, and it's very psychological, which are some of the things I'm gonna talk about today. But first, I would actually like to ask you, what do you think? What is the amount of steps a person should take per day?
At least 10,000.
That was the good answer, because actually the fun fact here is that no health organization in the world, also not the World Health Organization, is making a statement that general, because of course the amount of steps every person should take depends very much on a lot of factors, right? Like what is their normal physical
Yeah.
build and stuff like that, what other motions do they do. So actually there is no average amount. So where this number that we all have in our minds comes from, these 10,000 steps, is marketing. Because a very popular brand, I'm sure we all know which one we're
He's
talking about
lying.
here. When they came out with their product to track steps, they came out with this campaign to say you should reach 10,000 steps. And of course, everybody was wondering, well, how many steps do I actually take? And this became like the thing we're all thinking of. Okay, 10,000 steps is the healthy amount. So just to kick off, this is the power of marketing and of brand.
It's like that's why I always hated marketing. They are deceiving us, guys. It's like, don't believe marketers.
We are evil.
Don't believe
Why do
that.
you think I do this every
Yeah, they are
day?
really evil.
Okay. So next question for you. So what is a brand? Like, how do you define brand?
How do I define brand? So what I would say, brand is when you are from my perspective, when I try to sell something and when I mention its name, or say in a cold call or something, hey, do you recognize, I don't know, XYZ? When they say yes, that is a brand. When they say no, I didn't
Oh,
hear about it, it's not a brand.
no. Okay. No, what you're
Yet.
defining right now is
So
brand awareness. That is what you're defining, right?
yeah.
If brand awareness is there or not.
But for example, it's like a brand without brand awareness is not a brand.
But what I'm
Is
talking
it?
about here, how do you define? So, because you're defining right now if something is a brand based on if people know it, so the awareness of it. But actually, what a brand is different factors, which I will talk a
Hmm.
little bit about now, which also dives a
Of
bit
course.
into the psychological part of it, but also why brands are important. On the brand psychology, there are basically three areas. One is the color psychology. So, of course, our brains are wired to perceive different colors and have different emotions to colors. So, for example, the color red, of course, is like for anger and things like that. So very intense. The color green by now is like for sustainability and environment and happiness, right? So every color
Yeah.
has a different impact. But what it actually also does is that colors with that share a specific emotion towards a brand. So if you think, for example, of McDonald's with their red and yellow, you don't perceive them as a luxury thing, right? It like already in the colors, your perception is this is cheap, right? This is affordable. So that is what
Yeah.
kind of the power of the color psychology bit is, that you already share something on what your brand stands for in the colors. The next part is pattern recognition. Our brains are wired to see patterns. Because of course patterns explain the
Mhm.
world to us, so that is just human behavior. We want to understand what is happening, we want to understand the world, so we are wired to recognize patterns. And as a
Mhm.
brand, if you have consistency in patterns and shapes and forms you use throughout the buyer's journey and throughout everything you're sharing, that is a very
Mhm.
consistent pattern. And what that means is that people can build trust because they understand the pattern and they understand what it stands for. So that is also why brand consistency is such a big thing. And one of the parts as a marketer I dislike about working with sales on brand, because I have seen a lot of sales reps butcher a brand, putting out their own things and designing their own things that don't really fit to what you want to do and what you stand for. And that is painful.
It, definitely, you would hate to work with me
Oh,
because
no
I
doubt.
love designing things on my own needs. It's like, oh man, why did you do that? Actually, we are planning to do it like this, but like, I'm on Canva. I do my stuff own. It's like when someone needs a document or like something else or personalized outreach, I just create the
That's
content
exactly what I'm
out of
talking
nothing.
about.
So yeah, yeah. I am marketer's favorite guy. So
And then the third part of the brand psychology is a sense of belonging. So again, it's a deeply like human wired thing that we want to belong to a group. And actually, strong brands have exactly that. They have very clear values that their users, their audience, their consumers align with and feel like I am in that group. I align with these values. And a really good example of a brand, a consumer brand that all marketers love is Patagonia. Why? Well, first of all, their products are really cool. But second of all, it's also because they are so clear in what they stand for, in like sustainability, in, we actually want to support the economy. They're every year rebelling against Black Friday and saying we're not participating in it because it's like over like consumption and people buy stuff they don't need. We don't stand for that, and we know the value our product has. So that is
yeah.
overall kind of the brand psychology. And what you do as a marketer, as a brand creator, is basically design a brand personality. You give your company, your product, a personality in form of a brand that is, like a human. It says like, we are, no bullshit. We are always straight out, but we're also friendly. We are nice. We are funny. All of these things. And what you do with that
Mhm.
is have this be your brand's personality throughout everything. And this is, of course, where like sales come in as well, because every person, especially us social selling, we stand for our brands and the companies we work for as well. But
Exactly.
now comes a part that I really, really love about brands. That is super interesting, I think. In our brain, we have two systems when we make decisions. We have the analytical brain, the cognitive one, and that is the one we all want to go for when we're making a decision, right? Because we all want to make a sound decision that is based on analytical factors. But then we have the second part, and that is the intuitive brain. That is the one that, is gut feeling and just like goes for it. And the impact brands have is basically they are influencing our reward system in our brain. It's called the mesolimbic system. So brains actually influence that and make you switch from the analytical brain to the intuitive brain. So actually, decisions become a no-brainer. If you would have to get a new device, Ahmed, let's say a new smartphone, which one would you go for?
Yeah. For right now, Apple.
And that is because of the brand. You wouldn't even have to think about it. You can come with a lot
Actually,
of, I know you're going to come with a lot of other arguments, but basically, like,
yeah.
this is the switch that a brand has. Is like you feel sound about your decision going with that brand because it like triggers
Mhm.
your reward system and it switches from analytical to intuitive. Now, of course, a lot of the
Mhm.
examples, or actually all of the examples I mentioned so far, are B2C companies, right? And that is where the
Yeah.
branding started up. It was always kind of this B2C thing. Um, and I think, let's talk about what reasons are why B2B companies are first catching up on branding.
So actually, it's like about branding. I totally agree with you on all these points. I cannot say even it's like it's the truth actually. It's like it's psychology, etc. But what I also realize, it's like when it comes to brands, for example, it's like British Pet BP, it's like they messed up with the Gulf. I don't know. It's like there was a leak of petroleum on the shores and killed thousands of animals. And at the same time, they created a campaign to make the world more, it's like green in a sense. It's like they are all like. It gives me like it's a little bit creepy, it's like when something comes to bigger brands, for example. It's like when they say it's like we are caring about the world, but we know how, for example, some of the famous brands shoes made in Vietnam, or it's like which type of under which type of conditions.
And that's what
Yeah,
I
it's
mean with
really
consistency. That's why
yeah,
consistency is such a big part, because what happens there is that there is no trust, right? Because you see these different things,
yeah,
there is no consistency. So it tells you can't trust it, which at the same time also means you're not going to be a loyal follower. But basically, like, so,
yeah,
it has always been apparent for B2C companies that they need to have a brand and they need to be strong in that to influence the decisions. Also, of course, because the decisions between, I don't know, buying consumer products to buying B2B products is very different, right? B2B products are more
yeah,
expensive and you're not making a
yeah.
decision for your personal, like, kind of well-being,
Mhm.
but actually for your company, so in your professional life. So I think the main assumption has always been that B2B buyers are more analytical, and that price is a bigger
Mhm.
factor. But actually, by
Yeah,
now, it's like been shown and proven that B2B buyers are just as emotional as B2C buyers
exactly.
are.
Definitely, definitely. It's like what I saw. It's like analytical part is, it's like when we say like about 30, 25, 30%, because it's like during the process of selling, how you build a relationship with the stakeholders, it's like how you present the product, it's like how was your behavior, even you like, you know adding some, it's like if you show some interest, let's say from a different culture, from a different region, when you show some interest, it's like made some good jokes, it's like how you behave during all those process, how you help those guys, it really helps them. It really influences their decision making process, even with the same price or a little bit better product. It's like they go with you because what they also want is it's like a good customer service at the end, and you provide with your gestures, and it's like how you behave in this process, how you will help them to get along with your product.
I actually brought a number you're not gonna like because it kind of goes against what
Oh,
you just said. But studies show
it's just
that
guessing, by the way. It's not. Yeah.
so 80% of B2B buyers have already a vendor in mind before they do any research on a solution they want to purchase. And to top this off, 90% of them will go with the vendor they had already in mind. So even though they do the purchase and they talk to the sales reps, and I'm sure they all do a fantastic job, actually, who they will go with and the product they're going to purchase is the product that they already had the brand awareness of.
Yeah, you say you are saying that we need marketers as sellers, it's like
No, no,
to
no.
sell those products.
But what I'm saying is brand.
Without them, it's not possible.
Yeah, well, but it definitely makes it more
It's
difficult.
yeah, of course.
Because again, it's like even as B2B buyers, it's the reward system because you have the feeling, okay, you know of this brand. So people actually have a connection to a brand as if it was a person because they feel a sense of belonging and they feel like, okay, we know the values of this company, of this product. So even though we think we're making an analytical decision, it is deeply influenced on the intuitive side, which makes you believe you're
Mhm,
making a good decision. So even as B2B buyers, it's a rewarding thing of, okay, I have the comfort of I'm purchasing something I know already the value of.
mhm. Yeah.
So that is why I'm trying to say that branding is important, and I feel like
Yeah,
you're going to
of course.
disagree.
I totally. No, no, no. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. It's like we definitely need marketers in this world. Sometimes they are evil, but not all. So
Okay, so now talking about how can we actually use all of this in B2B sales and marketing, right? So for me, essentially, not every company needs to have a super elaborate brand personality and all of these things. I think consistency is insanely important, which is both kind of the visual side, but also tone of voice. And also when it comes to values, like, and that is essentially like kind of the
Mhm,
tone of voice. But how do we always want to
mhm,
approach people from the first interaction to the last interaction? Like, and that goes through departments, right? That even goes to like
mhm,
to product, right? What does our product stand for? What does our like product development stand for? And actually
mhm.
give people. And that is the part that is so difficult also in the sales and marketing alignment, right? Because I get that sellers
Yeah.
are like, well,
Mhm.
but I am in this situation, the face of the brand, and I know what I do. But it gets really difficult for marketing.
Exactly.
But essentially, I like to look at everything on the marketing side as a brand touch point. And I think, for example, webinars are a really great part, because you can say, yeah, okay, this is just a webinar, like, it's just this one event. But actually, what it is a brand experience. You have people speaking there, and, either you give valuable information that is worth people's time or you don't. And it's
Yeah.
exactly that. It is actually like a first touch point that is also visual with your company, but the same goes through like content and all of these parts, because it is always this,
Exactly.
what is the
Mhm,
mode and the moral we want to operate with. And that is the difficult part
yeah.
also in like, how do we want sales reps to approach prospects? Do we want them to
Yeah.
be funny because that is our brand personality, we like humor? Or do we want them to be like, fact based and like, just, did you know that if you don't purchase this you'll lose 60% of revenue?
Yeah. Does every company, it's like you said not everybody. Even let's say every company needs a brand. Like you said, not everyone needs a, it's like build their brand, etc. So is it actually possible in this world, like in software sales? It's like there are tons of softwares. You have in most cases, you have tons of competitors in your area, and some of them are really big. Let's say sales intelligence tool, like we have the giants Zoom Info, and I want to compete with them directly, but building a brand, I don't have most of the times, it's like they are startups, so it's like they don't have the right resources for that. So what would be your suggestion for them? So
So
if like, how can they decide if they should have built their brand or not?
So first, I want to say I didn't say not all companies need a brand. I said not all companies need an elaborate brand personality.
Hmm.
Because
Okay.
exactly that
Mhm.
point, definitely like in this market, and I mean every market in B2B SaaS right now is crowded. I don't think there
Yeah.
is any solution that doesn't have competitors. And even if you don't have competitors, like direct competitors, you're still competing against other solutions, because
Yeah.
companies right now are not going to purchase two, three solutions within the same area. So there's
Exactly.
lots of
Mhm.
competition out there, and branding is the only part that helps combat that and position you in the market. So definitely
Mhm.
every company, no matter the size, needs to work on their brand. The difference is just how elaborate you do this and how like detailed you work this out.
Mhm.
So you might not have to build a full brand personality and like these is like all of the emotions we want to
Mhm.
trigger. This is how we always like do everything, because you might not have the team, nor the time to do that. But you definitely need to
Yeah.
have like the three areas I pointed out. You need to have these
Mhm.
pinned down. What is it we're standing for?
Mm.
What is it like that people, that our target audience, that prospects actually can aspire to and can connect with? So that is definitely a really important thing. And while I'm not super much into we need elaborate brand playbooks, because again, like the question is always how much value does it give and how much is it actually just stress. And
Mhm.
it doesn't get like read by sales anyway. You need to have a certain
Mhm.
standard to ensure consistency. So I
Mhm.
mean, I've just done this entire exercise at my company, and work these
Mhm.
things out. And it is kind of like a middle ground of we have a very clear standardization on this is the shapes we use, the colors we use, this is how we talk to people
Mhm.
throughout. But this is basically like on team and time wise how far I can go. Like
Mhm.
every seller needs to take this in their own way. I cannot and I don't want to control that. They have like the outline of this is what we're standing for. We want to be always transparent.
Mhm.
We allow ourselves to be a bit weird and a bit funny, because that is just who we are also as like team members and as people.
Yeah.
So that is what we want to stand for, and this is kind of how far I went.
I see. What one thing about it's like providing value. The thing before my question, what I see, for example, I it's like test daily so many tools actually. It's like with the so AI tools mainly. So we talk about it on our last episode. What I see in some companies, they just when you sign up, you just like this is the premium package, this is the premium package, this is the premium package emails, and it just bothers, so I just unsubscribe to them. But some of them, they provide such valuable information. They have like to gather news from other AI tools, even their competitors. It's like they're so open. I just want them to send me an email. I just even booked, it's like for one tool, I just wanted to learn more about their plans for the future plans. It was a new tool. So I just, booked the meeting because he provided such a good value. It's like with their email newsletter. So we can say it was a newsletter after I signed up. So it's like, yeah, I just want to be a part of it. It's like if I can help, so I can, it's like recommend it to someone, I will do it. I know that they don't have much money so far to pay me, but I will even with that, I want to help them. It's like it is one thing that I also see. It's like providing value, clear value, because it's like we both are really active on LinkedIn. We come up with a lot of content, on your eyes, like reading a lot of posts, like them, etc., dislike them in many ways. When I see something like pushy guys who's constantly mentions their premium package, premium package, premium package, even I know I'm in sales. The product is not ready yet to it's like to pay something, even it's like 3 4 bucks. right now. And I was like, maybe in the future, I don't know. But it's like providing that value, be that valuable. It's like it keeps me there. It's like even I didn't had the chance to try yet. I just, it's like set me a reminder to check it in 1 week or 2 weeks or so. So it's really important, as you said. I confirm as a sales guy, so a consumer in that standpoint.
I didn't see that coming. That is already a great win for today.
Yeah, today is I'm really agreeable because it's like this is one topic that I'm don't have much thing to say, so that's why I'm just like, yeah, yeah, you're great. Marketers are great.
Yes, we already talked a bit about basically how to use and start this up. But again, for me, the most important part is to have brand consistency throughout everything you put out. And
Mhm.
you made a really good
Yeah,
point with the valuable insights. I mean that is also how I approach it when it comes to content. What you want your brand to stand
yeah,
for, your content should stand for as well. It should give value. It should be informative, and all of these things to actually bring your brand into it. Because if it's just written by AI, kind of blog post summarizing what already exists there, it doesn't have value. What do you want people reading it to take away from it? Like,
yeah,
what is your role in that? But
yeah.
we mentioned a lot of, or I mentioned a lot of B2C companies, because that is just like the kind of strong foundation for branding. But obviously B2B is catching up,
Mhm.
and there are a lot of strong brands in the market. I mean, you already mentioned Zoom Info, but their competitor Cognizant, for example, they have an incredibly
Yeah,
strong brand. And I can just say, as a
exactly.
marketer, what they're getting so right is like exactly the sense of belonging. The way they're talking, they're really like straight out, and we say the truth. When you visit their website, all of the headlines literally say what they do. I think one of the headlines they have on the website is like, "We get you the phone numbers of the people you want to reach out to." And it's like, you can't break it down more or make it more clear.
Yeah.
That is exactly like what it is, and that is exactly like what you're trying to achieve. So they, for example, did this super well with building a community of marketers who aspire to them, because like they
Yeah.
speak our language and they address these things, but also because they're always valuable. Like, I received their newsletter, and stuff like that. I see a lot of their content that they share in the team, and everything there is consistent. So even though, like, every person there doing social selling and posting, of course, has a different personality and different topics, there is the consistency there, because they have this like agreed upon mode of operating and communicating, and how they want to do things. So that for me is one of the companies that do B2B branding very well. I don't know if you have other
Mhm.
examples.
Other examples, actually, one of the biggest examples is Lemlist. It's like with their actually I'm working now with the it's like head of marketing from Lemlist,
Are you telling me you're
Wook,
cheating on me?
and yeah,
Next thing you're telling me you're bringing out a podcast.
I will bring him on our podcast, of course, as a guest, Julia. You
Yeah,
are the host. They are the guests. It's like you have the main marketing spot in my heart. It's like they are just like guests. They come in, they go. They're like I don't know, a one night stand. So in my heart. So
oh, that was great.
hope you don't cut out this scene. I was like, okay. So Lemlist and Lead Delta created. They were all over LinkedIn with. It's like they also did a really good personal branding for each of their employee. And at the end, they go from 0 to 10 million ARR actually in one year, 1.5 years. And actually the value that they provided with their content on LinkedIn, if even the company page, was huge. It's like I was like literally following every employee. It was actually one of my friend was there as well, Jelly, at that time. And it was like, okay, it's like, when is the next post coming out? I was even, it's like, click the bell to, it's like, to get notified and learn more about it, about, it's like LinkedIn, because I was really interested in, I was like, personal branding at that stuff. So I was really new to that. I just wanted to expand my knowledge on that area. And right now, well, like everyone, when it comes to, it's like LinkedIn automation, it's like all that relevant stuff. Everyone says at first, oh, we use Lemlist. It's like Lemlist became a brand on that space. So yeah.
No, that's yeah, exactly. That was a great example. Obviously, there's lots more great B2B brands we could name here, but we'll keep it to these examples. And if you want to learn more about branding, how to position yourself as a brand, yourself on social media, but also your company, I can recommend the podcast Shoot the Shift. They're also on YouTube, and they have really great conversations and lots of input. So I'll put the link in the descriptions as well. And then we say goodbye for today.
Bye bye.